You are invited to hear a secret.
Walking across the rural agricultural fields of England today, you are stepping over one of the densest subsurface archives of the Roman Empire on Earth. Sweeping a coil over this specific dirt is a highly calculated exercise in geospatial history. The physical thrill of the strike happens in seconds. You pinpoint a signal, break through the dark loam, and pull an artifact into the sunlight, untouched by human hands for 1,600 years. Most casual finds are single coins dropped on a roadside, but the true targets for researchers are massive clay vessel hoards. The Hawksney hoard, discovered in Suffolk, contained nearly 15,000 Roman gold and silver coins packed into a single deposit, representing an absolute fortune. Welcome to Persian Fact. If you want to understand the deep-time geography, military logistics, and the science of unearthing ancient currency, hit subscribe. Pinpointing a multi-million-dollar subsurface anomaly requires entirely discounting random luck. To find a hoard, a field researcher has to reverse engineer the specific geopolitical crises of the late Roman Empire. The math of casual coin drops is simple. You follow the imperial highways, like Watling Street. Legions, merchants, and couriers dropped coins continuously for 4 centuries, creating a dense, linear trail of loose change along the road's verges. But the high-grade treasure is not on the roads. This map shows the distribution of Roman currency across the British Isles, and it reveals a massive geographic anomaly. The epicenters for deliberate, high-volume Roman hoards are located far east, in agricultural Norfolk and Suffolk. Strangely, East Anglia was stripped of military presence, no permanent bases. The greatest concentration of wealth sits unprotected in farming territory. To map the recovery zones, we have to look at the landscape through the eyes of a desperate elite and figure out why the wealthiest Romano-British citizens chose to lock their fortunes in random dirt. The geography of this wealth traces back to the 1st century. East Anglia belonged to the Iceni tribe. After the Roman military brutally crushed Queen Boudicca's rebellion in 61 CE, the empire established total administrative control over the landscape. Imperial engineers quickly pacified the region. They cleared the land and transformed the flat, fertile soils of Norfolk and Suffolk into a massive, highly productive agricultural breadbasket. Historians call the resulting era a safe haven hypothesis. Shielded from the frontier wars, East Anglia enjoyed decades of uninterrupted peace. Romano-British farming estates exploded in scale, and the local landowners amassed staggering fortunes through grain exports and rural trade. Up on the northern frontier, the army built massive defensive infrastructure to hold the border. East Anglia required none of that. The region grew rich, but it remained entirely devoid of heavy stone fortifications. This created a severe economic paradox. The tycoons of the eastern breadbasket held immense personal fortunes, but they had absolutely no institutional banks and no garrison vaults to secure their money. That lack of security became a fatal liability during the late 3rd and 4th centuries, when 2 simultaneous crises fractured the province of Britannia. Internally, the Roman economy cracked. Runaway inflation decimated the value of daily bronze currency. In response, wealthy landowners aggressively hoarded their highest-grade, inflation-proof silver and gold. Externally, the threat was physical. Saxon pirates began launching brutal, sudden raids against the totally unfortified eastern coastlines. The agricultural tycoons realized immediately that their sprawling estates were prime targets. With raiders moving inland and no military legions close enough to defend them, panic set in. They needed to hide their capital. Families gathered their high-value gold aureus and silver siliquae, the hard currency of their estates, and packed thousands of individual coins into large clay pottery vessels. Without a stone vault, they used the only secure environment available to them. They walked out into their fields under the cover of darkness and buried these heavy clay pots deep inside the rich, easily diggable Norfolk loam. These were not ritual offerings to the gods. They were desperate, short-term emergency savings accounts, planted in the earth by families fully expecting to dig them up once the danger passed. Most of those families never returned. As the empire collapsed, the estate owners were displaced or killed, and their vaults remained locked in the silent stratigraphy of the soil for over a millennium. Today, the primary catalyst for discovery in East Anglia is not a metal detector, but heavy agricultural machinery. This diagram shows the scatter field effect. Deep-reaching modern plow blades frequently strike the ancient clay pots, shattering the ceramic shell. Continuous seasonal plowing snags the loose coins, pushing them upward with each pass until they reach the topsoil where detectors can find them. Modern farming machinery essentially functions as a mechanical time machine, elevating ancient wealth out of the deep soil and bringing it straight into the plow zone. A casual observer driving through Norfolk sees endless plain farming fields, but an educated relic hunter sees a highly active, dynamic historical archive waiting to be read. Locating these hoards means understanding that artifact distribution is a direct reflection of historical terror. The densest concentrations of wealth mark the exact coordinates of imperial threat vectors and local economic collapse. When modern detectorists unearth these scattered coins, they are finding the physical artifacts of an empire in its final, frantic days. By extracting them from the plow zone, they act as lawful custodians, recovering the lost, desperate savings of ghosts. We know that regions like East Anglia hold millions of buried Roman coins, but knowing a county is wealthy is one thing. Walking blindly into a 100-acre agricultural field with a metal detector is a guarantee of failure. At ground level, the landscape is deceptive. Centuries of continuous modern farming have effectively erased all physical traces of Roman architecture from the topsoil, grinding foundations and walls into featureless dirt. To locate these vanished settlements, researchers have to pull back. They stop staring at the dirt and take to the air, relying on micro-geospatial analysis. It is the science of reading the living landscape, translating invisible footprints seen from the sky into exact physical targets on the ground. Before a metal detector ever powers on, researchers scan the field using aerial photography to find a reliable biological signature of hidden Roman structures, Cropmarks. When Romans built stone villas, heavy foundations remained. Crops growing directly above them hit a barrier. Roots are trapped in shallow soil. During dry summers, that thin layer loses moisture first. These crops dehydrate and turn yellow much faster than the surrounding field. From the air, this creates a sharp, yellow geometric grid. This negative crop mark acts as an exact blueprint of the lost building, showing precisely where high-yield coin clusters will be. The opposite occurs where Romans dug defensive ditches. Over time, these trenches filled with loose, organic topsoil. Crops planted here have extra room for their roots and access to moisture that lasts through a drought. These crops stay towering and vibrant green long after the rest of the field has withered. These positive crop marks outline ancient market boundaries or military perimeters, the primary zones where cash was frequently dropped during daily trade. The natural environment functions as a living hard drive, continuously broadcasting the layout of the Roman Empire through the growth patterns of the crops. If you're finding this look into historical detection useful, consider hitting the subscribe button. Next, we're dropping down to ground level to see how these ancient savings actually move through the soil. Once a structure is mapped from above, we have to understand the physics of the dirt. This is known as plow soil geomorphology. In the 4th century, a Roman citizen hiding a hoard would bury a clay pot about 50 to 80 centimeters deep. That was safe from the shallow wooden plows of the era. Modern industrial tractors cut much deeper. Today's plows frequently clip the tops of buried vessels, smashing the upper section and dragging coins forward. Over decades of farming, a tight deposit becomes smeared across the topsoil, transforming into a long, linear trail known as a plow fan. When a researcher finds a scattered line of low-value bronze coins, they use GPS to plot every find. By tracing the line backward and upslope, they can find the exact origin point. The destructive force of the tractor actually creates a directional arrow pointing toward the intact base of the pot, and the bulk of the silver or gold still waiting below the plow line. Once a hoard is recovered, the process moves from the field to the law. In the United Kingdom, the Treasure Act of 1996 ensures that these discoveries are recorded rather than disappearing into the black market. To be legally defined as treasure, an item must be at least 300 years old and contain at least 10% gold or silver, or be part of a qualifying hoard of multiple coins. Finders have exactly 14 days to report their discovery to a local finds liaison officer. This ensures that the location data is added to the National Archaeological Ledger. The artifacts are then transferred to the British Museum. Here, an independent committee determines their fair market value based on current rarity and condition. If a museum acquires the find, the Crown pays the full market value as a reward. This payment is split evenly between the person who found the items and the landowner who granted them permission to search. Remember, field exploration in England requires written landowner permission before you ever step onto a field. This channel strictly opposes illegal metal detecting or the unauthorized excavation of protected historical sites. Finding Rome in Britain is a structured deductive science. By reading the sky and navigating the law, explorers act as citizen scientists, restoring the lost economic tokens of the empire to the grand narrative of history. Thanks for joining us for this masterclass. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments which ancient landscape we should scan next.